Good morning everyone. Today we're going to Blenheim Palace, which you've most likely heard of, and this is in Woodstock, Oxfordshire, and this is one of the treasure houses of England as they're known, and also it was the birthplace of Winston Churchill, and there's a lot to see here, so it should be pretty interesting today. This is the village of Woodstock that we're just going through, and I think we're here now. So here we are, and we're just approaching the East Gate, which is sort of an entrance to the courtyard, and then that leads through to another part where the entrance to the house is. But the house doesn't open till about 10:30, so I'm going to have a little look around the parkland first and stuff after we've had a look at this East Gate. So this is the East Gate, and this was by Sir John van Bru, who also designed the main house. And interestingly, this doubles up as a water tower. It actually carries a cistern for part of the house's water supply. And look how busy it is here. And you can see various embellishments and statues and stuff. And some of those were by someone called Grinling Gibbons. And he also did work at Windsor Castle and Hampton Court Palace. And these gates weigh approximately 17 tonnes, and these were shown at the Great Exhibition of 1851. And there's an inscription towards the top up there, and that describes the gifting of the land and the palace to the first Duke of Marlborough. And as we pass through this courtyard here, this tower is called Townsend's Tower, and this was named after the Oxford mason John Townsend. And you probably just heard the bells ringing up there. And the clock, which has 4 faces, was made in 1710 by Langley Bradley, and he also made the clock at St Paul's Cathedral. And the clock hands are all gilded in 24 carat gold leaf. And then we come through to what's known as the Great Court. And to our left over there, that's the main entrance to the house that we'll be going in a bit later on. And if we look back at the tower that we just walked through, on the top there's actually some lions, which obviously is standing for the British Empire, and they're actually savaging French cockerels, and that again was by Grinling Gibbons. And I'll take a photo so that you can see a bit more up close. And obviously the French cockerels, they were signifying the French who lost the battle against Marlborough, who had this house built for him after winning the Battle of Blenheim. And one of the most impressive things about this courtyard really is all the embellishments across the rooftops. And most notably this Britannia standing atop the north front entrance pediment in front of two reclining chained French captives. And I'll get a photo up again for that so that you can see a bit more clearly. And again, that signifies Marlborough's victories at Blenheim. Okay, so let's talk about the house a little bit. So this was built between 1705 and 1722, and it was designed by Sir John van Bru, and he'd also worked on the fantastic Castle Howard with Nicholas Hawksmoor. However, there had been a hunting lodge or a palace here from the 12th century. The house takes its name from the 1704 Battle of Blenheim and was built as a gift from Queen Anne to John Churchill, the 1st Duke of Marlborough. And this was in gratitude for his victory at the Battle of Blenheim earlier that year against the French. And as I mentioned on the way in, it was also the birthplace of Sir Winston Churchill. And this is an 18th century example of English Baroque architecture. And as you'll see as the day goes on, at Blenheim, really it's magnificence over comfort, as the architect's brief was to create not only a home, but also a national monument to reflect the power of Britain at the time. And there we have some nice large Corinthian columns at the front. At the end of the 19th century, the palace was apparently saved from ruin by funds gained from the 9th Duke of Marlborough's marriage to the American railroad heiress Consuelo Vanderbilt. And then during the Second World War, the 10th Duke welcomed the boys from Malvern College as evacuees, and in September 1940 the security service, MI5, was allowed to use the palace as its base until the end of the war. And if we spin around to look at the parkland opposite the house, somewhere down there there's a little village, and Sir Winston Churchill's grave is located down there at St Martin's Church. And right at the top up there's a 30-ton marble bust of the 1st Duke's foe, Louis XIV, and that's positioned high above the south portico. And here the defeated French king was forced to look down on the Duke's land given to him after his victory. And I'll take a couple of close-up photos so that you can see that. So because the house isn't open yet, I'm going to go and have a look at some of the gardens and grounds. And there's actually a lot to see in the gardens and stuff here. And there's lots and lots of different features, so we'll have a look at that first. So first of all, we'll have a look at the water terrace gardens. And these were actually a later addition from around 1925 to 1930. And these were by someone called Achille Duchesne, I think it's pronounced. And these were for the 9th Duke of Marlborough. And as you can see, these are by one of the sides of the house. And they're quite vast. And they're actually on 2 levels, so this is the top level. And then you can see, just about see the 2nd level down there, and then the lake beyond. So as I said, these were built on 2 levels, and this one at the top is known as the East Terrace. And this area really was built to be reminiscent of the parterres at Versailles in France. And as you can see, there's smaller pools which make up the whole. And you've got these limestone curb walls with the ball finials on sort of the intersecting bits. It's quite impressive really. And you've got these lead statues in the corners. And then if you continue a bit further down, like I said, there's another level to the water garden. And then you can see the lake beyond, which is it's quite pleasing to the eye really. So this is the lower water terrace. Let's go down and have a look. Yeah, this is nice. You don't see many of these setups. So here, if you look at these pillars, each side of these niches, you'll notice that they're not actually pillars, they resemble people. And these are known as caryatids or caryatids. So yeah, it sort of resembles people holding up the weight above them. And then in between you've got these niches with these tiered shells which form sort of miniature cascades. And there's various lovely bits of statuary around, there's lots and lots. And I think most of this is lead actually. And flanking these steps here, there's a pair of sphinxes by someone called Samuel Ward Willis, and these were from around 1930. And these actually depict the 9th Duke's second wife, Gladys. Let's have a look. So there we go, it's a sphinx. And then the 9th Duke's second wife, Gladys. And then down towards the corner, we've got more of these lead statuettes of angels. And then you've got these ones that resemble infants here. And these are known as putti or putty, however you want to pronounce it. And then a bit further up you've got a statue of a kind of warrior. And there's one of these in the opposite corner as well, all the way down there. Then walking over to the other corner, got this sundial here. And then this thing here in the middle is called a Bernini fountain. So there's two of these square pools at the bottom, and both have Bernini fountain in them. However, I believe only this one is an original, and the one in the pond further down is a copy. In 1710, the first Duke was gifted this Bernini fountain by the Spanish ambassador to the papal court in Rome, and it's in marble and limestone, and it was probably a model for the one that stands in the Piazza Navona in Rome, and it's got four figures depicting the rivers Nile, Ganges, Plata and Danube, or the Tiber, and it's arranged on a rocky plinth surrounding the central obelisk. And actually, for years, it had stood hidden in some shrubbery out in the parkland, but then it was brought in to form the centrepiece of the new garden in the 20th century. So we're just at the other side of the house now, and I think this is called the Great Lake. And just down there is Bru Grand Bridge, and we're going to go and have a look at that in a minute. So here we are, there's the Great Lake, and if we move around, that's the courtyard side of the house where we were not long ago. Okay, so this is Bru Grand Bridge. And this was built between around 1708 and 1712, and this is around 120 metres in length. Let's have a look over the other side. If you look down to our left, you can actually see that there used to be a lot of rooms inside this bridge, which I'll talk about in a minute. And that's the view back up towards the house. And here it is. And it's quite a view really when you take in the house and the bridge together. Now this bridge originally spanned marshland before Capability Brown came along later on and made the lake, and when he did that he also flooded the lower level of the bridge, which meant some of the rooms that were actually constructed inside were flooded as well at the same time. And interestingly, it was originally supposed to have a covered arcade going across the top, but that never happened for one reason or another. So I'll try and pop up a quick picture of what that would have looked like. So as I said, they actually built rooms inside this, which made it some sort of habitable viaduct, as they called it. And apparently there were up to 30 rooms inside, and some of these actually survive inside the bridge to this day. And some very old guidebooks actually record people having picnics and stuff inside these rooms. And some of the rooms have fireplaces and arches, and there was said to be an integrated boathouse. However, it's too dangerous for tourists to go inside nowadays. And as you can see, we're at the other side of the bridge now. And you can see how the lake continues the other side of the bridge. And it's very vast. And let's continue down this path next to the lake a bit, because there's supposed to be another feature down here. Here we are. So this is known as Rosamunds Well, and this is apparently the oldest thing at Blenheim. And the 9th Duke of Marlborough had water from here piped the length of the lake and then pumped up to the water terraces and kitchens. And you can see that the water still runs to this day. So there's sort of a little spring there and then a pool in front of it, which has been specially constructed. And there were said to have been plans in the late 18th century to enclose the spring inside a sort of Gothic bathing house, but that never actually came to fruition in the end. And Henry II housed his mistress Rosamund Clifford here, sometimes known as Fair Rosamund, and that's where the well takes its name from. And heading back, we've got another feature here. And this is now known as the Harry Potter tree. And you might recognise it. So this is a cedar of Lebanon tree, and it's known as the Harry Potter tree for its role in the 2007 film Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Although it might more accurately be called the Severus Snape tree, as the scene filmed here was centred around Professor Snape's memories of a time when, as a student at Hogwarts, he was bullied by Harry Potter's father while sitting under the tree. Now you might have seen this in the background when I was walking over the bridge earlier, but the next feature I'm going to is called the Column of Victory, and it's quite a long walk, but I'll get a bit closer. You should be able to see how they've planted an avenue of trees here to lead the eye right to the centre with the Column of Victory. Yeah, so this was built between 1727 and 1730 to designs by Nicholas Hawksmoor. The design was based on the pillar in the Piazza Navona in Rome, and this was built to commemorate the Duke of Marlborough's military victories. And it stands at about 41 metres high. It's a fluted Doric column, and it's topped by a lead statue of the first Duke of Marlborough. And I'll get a close-up picture of that so you can see what it actually looks like, because you got no chance on the video obviously. and you can see on the bottom that there's various writings and commemorations. And then in the distance you can see where it leads straight back down to the house, as if the first Duke of Marlborough's looking down upon his house. Okay, so let's head back down towards the house. It's quite a dull day today, weather-wise. Looks like it's threatening to rain, but not quite raining. That's quite a pleasing view over the bridge and up to the house. Okay, so we're finally back near the house, and I think it's time to see if we can have a little snoop around the house. I believe this is the Great Hall. And the ceiling is by someone called James Thornhill. And apparently that's of Marlborough presenting his plan for the Battle of Blenheim to Britannia. It's all very grand, as you'd expect. Looks like there's a bit of an exhibition in this bit. There's Churchill in his finery. Here's a model of Blenheim Palace. I think this was the birth room of Winston Churchill. This is the Great Hall from the other side. Corinthian columns inside there. There's a bust of the Duke of Marlborough up there. This is the green drawing room, full of paintings. A nice ornate chandelier. Very busy in here. So this is the red drawing room, and this is a 1905 family portrait painted by Sargent. And Consuelo Vanderbilt was actually taller than her husband, so she stood on the steps to hide that fact. This is the green writing room, and the tapestries depict some of Marlborough's military victories. Again, another very impressive ceiling. I think this is going to be the saloon. The murals and the ceiling in here are by Louis Laguerre, and he did some of the ceilings at Chatsworth as well, as you might have seen in one of my other videos. Very impressive door case. There's Consuelo, the 9th Duchess. And here's more of those tapestries showing Marlborough in battle. Another one of the staterooms with more tapestries. And that up there is actually Louis XIV, who Marlborough defeated. And he decided to put a painting in the house for some reason. I like all these chandeliers. And another stateroom with more tapestries. This is going to be the Lung Library, I believe. This is one of the most impressive rooms now. That's very impressive. This room features a large statue of Queen Anne by John Michael Risbrook. And this room is around 180 feet long. And as you can see, probably there's a large organ at the end. As you can see, everything in this house is just massive, and it is more like sort of a trophy than a house, really. A house to live in, I mean. So we're halfway down the room at the moment. That's where we've just come from. Here's the absolutely gigantic organ. So we're coming out the other side of the house now. Oh no, we're coming out the side. So that's where we went in over there. I think we're going to go through to the chapel next. This is the chapel. And this over here is the most impressive thing, you know. So this is the first Duke's sarcophagus and tomb. And this was designed by William Kent and carried out by John Michael Risbrook. And this marble monument was for the first Duke and Duchess of Marlborough and their two sons, who both died young. And that's about as impressive as it comes, really. And the statues either side at the bottom here. This one represents history with her quill. And the one at the other side represents fame with her trumpet. And obviously at the top, that's the Duke and his family. And then you can go up the stairs in the chapel here. And get a view from the top. And then let's go. Okay, so that was the house and chapel, and I'm going to have a little rest now, and then I'm going to go and have a look at a lot more features in the gardens. Okay, so we're just below the water gardens now, and we're just going to go down to near the lake to have a look at the boathouse. Okay, so this is the boathouse, and apparently this was built in 1888 for the 8th Duke and Duchess, obviously to enjoy the lake. As boathouses go, it's one of the more impressive ones. Okay, so coming back up from the lake, this is the Temple of Diana, and this was built around 1773 for the 4th Duke, and this was by Sir William Chambers, and it was here in the summer of 1908 that Winston Churchill proposed to Clementine Hosier, who would become Baroness Churchill. And in 1975 it was restored somewhat, and 2 plaques were added, as you can see at the end in the middle there. And at the top there's a pediment with a Greek inscription. And next to it we've actually got a Sir Winston Churchill memorial garden. And there's a big what looks like a bronze bust up here of Churchill.
We can stay for as late as you want to, or we can leave as early as you want to. Up to you.
And then a bit further down we've got a rose garden, which apparently is usually home to more than 1800 roses. And I think there used to be a statue in the centre, but that appears to have gone now. And if we follow this path, we should come to our next little feature. So this is the Temple of Flora, and this is in the classical style, just like the last one. And this apparently dates to the late 18th century. And according to this, it was restored in 1988 by the 11th Duke. And this once formed the centrepiece of a flower garden. And this overlooks the main lake, although if we turn around, you can see that nowadays the view's obscured by the trees that have grown over the years. You can just about peek through and see a bit of the lake down there. And then if we leave the Temple of Flora from up there, if we walk down here, apparently there's supposed to be a grotto of some kind down here, according to my research anyway, so we'll have a little look. Right, so I think this is probably it here. And apparently this was around the 18th century, middle of the 18th century maybe. And it's said that this was probably a part of Capability Brown's work at Blenheim. There we go, somewhere nice to shelter from the sun, if it was sunny. It's quite a nice grotto as they go. And then actually a nice view out onto the lake. And we'll continue along the side of the lake. And there's some nice lily pads there actually. And we should come to our next feature, which is the Grand Cascade. And I think I can see it in the distance. And there's those lily pads. Alright, so we're coming up to the Grand Cascade here. So this is the Grand Cascade. And then down there at the bottom there's a bridge known as the Swiss Bridge. And then I think this building on the left is the pump house. And this cascade was apparently from around the 1760s and designed by Capability Brown. It's a busy bridge. You can actually see some ducks climbing up the middle of it. There's the pump house. Ducks are having fun. So the water basically falls from the big lake above and then becomes sort of a slow river down here. And that continues down into the distance. And the bridge apparently dates from the 1820s, but no doubt it's been restored a lot since then. Or replaced. How much more English countryside do you want to get? Game of cricket in front of a stately home. Okay, so I've gone across to the other side of the house now, and we've got another feature, and it's another temple, and this time it's called the Temple of Health, and this is grade 2 listed, and this dates from around 1789, and it was by Sir William Chambers and John Yen. As you can see, we've got Corinthian columns again here. You can tell that by the leaves at the top, acanthus leaves I think they're on the finials. And at the top there, the round thing is a medallion of George III and a Latin inscription in commemoration of his recovery from mental illness. And that's why this is called the Temple of Health. And a bit further up we've got this pond with sort of a standard sprinkler in the middle. Then if we turn around just a bit further up this way, we've got a nice looking water feature actually. I'll just get a bit closer. So this little area is called the Roundel, and it's sort of a circular little garden area. But it hasn't always looked exactly the same, because this wasn't always a water feature here actually. Originally it was just the statues. That's a nice water feature, isn't it? So apparently the statues here were originally in the Great Hall of the house, and in early 2012 the 11th Duke of Marlborough, with the generous support of the USA Blenheim Foundation, undertook the task of restoring the Roundel, and the statue was restored, and then this ornamental pond was created with 12 water jets. And then not that far from the Roundel really, we've got the walled kitchen garden, which dates from around 1710. And it looks to be absolutely massive, to be honest. Yeah. And at the entrance here we've got this pedimented Tuscan gateway. and at the side there's like a niche at each side, which probably would have originally had a little statue or something inside, or a bust. Yeah, this is massive. So you got a little orchard or something over that side. I think the walls are about 4 metres high, apparently. And apparently it was John Van Bru and Henry Wise who were responsible for the planning of this area. And there's a maze here. Probably get lost in it now. A nice statue in the middle. I think that might be Mercury, if my memory serves me right.
What are you doing?
Been walking for ages now. Trying to get to one of these viewpoints. I think I've made it just about. There we go, made it to the top. Might be able to find my way out quicker now, because that took me ages, that did. It's the walled garden from above. I ended up walking all the way around there somehow. Yeah, very easy to go the wrong way.
All the way through the maze.
Now just got to try and get out of it. And I'm out. And that was the walled garden. Nice bench here. There's even a railway if you're into that type of thing. That takes you from sort of by the house to the walled garden. Okay, so that was Blenheim Palace. I've walked about 7.5 miles today, so I'm getting a bit tired now. But no, that's a lovely place to come and have a look around, that is. I mean, it can be a bit pricey. I think normal ticket for the palace gardens and grounds is about £38, but you can usually get some kind of offers or something to bring that down to about half price sometimes. So that's not too bad. But yeah, there's a lot to see here, so it's definitely worth the money really if you're into this type of thing. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it, as usual, and I shall see you next time. See you later.